Okay, welcome to my journey. So, I'm going to tell you something. The things that I talk about, some people think that it's easy to talk about these things. I'm going to tell you, it's very hard to talk about these things. And sometimes it's like you don't want to talk about these things. And I'm like, if I feel this way, I know a lot of people feel this way. And this is why a lot of people refuse to talk about these things, because the emotions that are involved in talking about the dysfunctions in our own families is hard, right? And my family and my extended family is very dysfunctional. Very. And honestly, if I hadn't gotten away from my family, I would be just as dysfunctional as they are. Oh, no, I would be worse. Let's keep it real. I would be worse. Right? So that's why there was a point that I literally had to divorce my family. Literally. And become emancipated by the courts at 17 years old. And it wasn't just my dad's side, but also even my mother's side. Okay? I don't know if it was just the dynamics of our relationship, or if it was just the best thing for me to do. You know, because my mom's family, you know, they're dysfunctional also, right? They've been traumatized in their life, and, you know, they wanted to be healed for sure, or whether or not they were healed, who's to say? Right? Some people will say, you know, healing is a reflection of your life and your family that's around you. And when I heard that, right, I'm like, but, you know, I don't have anybody around me. What does that mean? Well, eventually it started meaning that since they're not around me, that could mean because I'm willing and able to talk about the dysfunction of my family, that makes me a curse breaker. What? Yeah, it makes me a curse breaker. You know, and I'm okay with that. Because my mom had, I guess, four, three sisters and a brother, with the same mother and father. I think the same mother and father. But anyway, those five definitely were not with the last mother, who I call grandma, because she made the best gravy. Okay? She made the best gravy. And interesting enough, because my mother hated her, she felt like I too was supposed to show loyalty to hate her stepmother, the lady that I know as my grandma, who makes the best gravy in the whole wide world. Right? And yeah, we had that conversation. And I tried to explain to her, yeah, but that's my grandma. That's your mom, your stepmom, but that's my grandma. So, the fact that she hated her, right? But the hate that she had for her stepmother should have been over by the time she became an adult, in my mind. In my mind, it's like, well, you're an adult now. You said you hate her because you felt like she hated you and she was going to starve you to death. Okay. But now that you're grown, you didn't die of starvation. Well, what are you still mad at? Right? I mean, it just seems to me like, getting back to what I was talking about before. You have these people that harbor these resentments and these angers, and it's just like, well, what is the equalizer? What is the equalizer to your hate? Is it that do you get to give your stepmother, one great big backhanded slap across the face? Huh? Or is it these mental games that you play, and these manipulative games where, if someone likes you or loves you, or is in your vicinity, then they have to automatically feel the same way that you do about other people and what? Other things too? Right? So, like my mom, she loves pistachio ice cream. And I'm like, no, pistachio ice cream is not my favorite. I like Rocky Road. You gonna hate me because I like Rocky Road and not pistachios? Well, how about I say, I don't dislike pistachio ice cream. It's just not my favorite. I like it sometimes. Anyway, it was weird. So, and my father, he was an educated man. He was a vet under somebody else's name. So he had snuck into the military. He also was a businessman. An engineering draftsman. He had been a single parent on at least 2 occasions. And he was a philanderer. He was also a pimp. He was also a drug and guns dealer. So, I don't even know how you can even get any worse than that or any better. However you want to look at it. Because there was nothing that my father didn't do. Okay? He did everything. Good and bad. Alright? So, needless to say, my mother definitely had her hands full when she encountered him. And he drove her absolutely crazy and traumatized her. To the point where she didn't even want his name mentioned in front of her. And I was a weird one talking about, well, you both are single and you're old and you might as well, get back together, right? Hopeless romantic. Hopeless romantic. And they were like, ain't shit romantic about our relationship. And we would never ever. That would never happen. Woo. And I'll tell you, up until the day they died, I was still hoping they would get back together. Like, look, y'all go ahead and get back together. But both of them, they died alone. My mom, she had her tribe. And my dad, he had one of his ex-wives that helped in his burial. So That's why I'm saying it's hard to talk about family when you know that your family is dysfunctional. It just is. I don't think that there's anyone of my family that has ever spoke with as much clarity about our family as I have. No one. They would rather lie than to speak with clarity.
I think I'm gonna do it this time.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So and there's a lot of things, that, haven't been talked about. So I know you guys are thinking, oh, my father is probably some street dealer, and also, just picked up some guns and stuff on the side. No. My father was part of the Black Panther movement. Black Panther movement used drugs, prostitution, and guns to try to do a revolution, right? That ended up kind of bad because, when they was fleeing to avoid prosecution, they hijacked a jet and went to Algeria, right? And that was because my father had went there ahead of time to make sure that Algeria didn't extradite criminals back to America. Okay? So on one hand, the fact that, the propaganda was they wanted freedom and equality, but the way that they went about trying to get the freedom and equality was corrupt. Okay? It was very corrupt. It was through drugs, alcohol, and sex trafficking. And also, these people had legitimate jobs that they only used as a front. They only used legitimate jobs as a front. They could be a whole engineer, and that's just a front, because their intentions was to create a revolution. And and it's like, okay, but once you think about having this revolution, what are your post plans, right? Post revolution plans. What are those? What does it look like? Right? Similar to the question that a lot of women should be asking these guys, right? What is our relationship post-sex? Not much for a lot of women. Not much, because these men don't see women as partners. These men only see women as an extension of their own personal agenda. And if you can't help them pursuing or helping him achieve his agenda, you're of no use for him. This is one of the reasons why, I don't understand women who are out here. I understand that, it's good to be independent and to have autonomy. However, I don't understand the women who say, well, no, I'm going to compete with a man and I'm going to show him that I could be successful. Like, you don't have shit to prove to him. Okay? You don't. Proving that you can be just as dysfunctional as he is will make you lose the whole game altogether. And I know I lost a lot of people when I said that. Because a lot of you are believing that you can take equity and command it to be yours. Right? How many times have we heard people say that freedom is taken, power is taken? It's not. It's negotiated and it's cooperated to achieve a goal. That's what it is. If you have to play that game of taking conquest, you done fell right into the hands that snare these men into being demonic. And like I said, you can think that somebody will verbally uphold a contract, but I'm telling you, they don't even uphold written contracts. So why would you expect them to uphold a verbal contract?